The opposition National Democratic Congress is preparing for the elections of 2024, but before that, the party would have to put its house in order. Doing that would include having national officers to lead it into the elections. The first part of the national election has happened. The next one happens on Saturday. However, there were fallouts from Cape Coast, which fallouts may not have been entirely beautiful for lovers of the umbrella party. On Face to Face today, we are dissecting the NDC and look at how prepared an opposition party it is. My name is Umaru Sanda, and you're welcome to Face to Face. My guest is a retired district chief executive who decided to go into active politicking and ran to be youth organizer of the National Democratic Congress. He was re-elected at Congress this weekend, or this past weekend, in Cape Coast. George Opare Addo, also known as Pablo. You're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm very well.
You look calm. It's as if you were so tired from the weekend that you need a bed to sleep in or something.
It's been very tiring, Sanda. I'm sure if you leave me for 5 minutes, I'll be gone.
I can imagine. Try and match your voice for me small, because it's really, your voice is tired, your face is tired, everything is tired. But you're wearing white. Victory, you should be celebrating. I'm
celebrating, but I'm tired. Certainly.
I'll talk to you about your Congress, but I want us to focus quickly about the government of the NPP. You have led demonstrations on the street a number of times since Akufo-Addo took over the reins of power. Currently, we are going through an economic challenge, which is continuing. There's a debt restructuring program that is happening. In the midst of all of this, the IMF at staff level has accepted our deal, so we have an agreement of a sort between our Ministry of Finance officials and the IMF staff levels. So essentially the 3 billion will come maybe by March next year and so on. What do you make of that?
Sana, thank you. Before I respond to you, let me say thank you to the NDC family for re-electing me again. It'll be most unfair if I don't say anything.
I'll give you a whole chance to talk about that.
I know, but let me thank them before I make any comments.
Okay.
Let me also thank the Almighty God. Without Him, I'll not be here. I've always said from day one that it is a God factor. Because the forces that came up against me, it was as if the whole institution was fighting a small George Opare Addo. But God was so merciful, and I'm so grateful for what He's done for me. If you're going to play music on the set, you know that I would have made you play it for me.
What would you
God
want?
did it by DJ Khaled.
Which one?
DJ Khaled's God did it, yeah.
Oh, okay. God's plan or God?
No,
did
God did it.
Okay, I don't know that one. I know God.
By DJ
God's
Khaled.
plan
Or, on the other hand, you could play me Shatter on God.
Okay.
But
that's what you used to encourage yourself.
Exactly. And I also want to say a big thank you to my campaign team, lawyer Muchiu Abubakar Rahman, and the whole team, Charles Tete, everybody else who worked on the campaign. Amazing guys. You know, for the last 3 months, I didn't do any TV, any radio. I was just focused. When they were training all the death at me, I just decided that I'll let it go. Let me focus and win. Because, like we say, the job's day ground. So I was focused. Also, the leadership of the NDC, from His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, the National Chairman, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, and every other member that worked to see to it that this Congress took place. I'm so grateful to them. And to the delegates, they've been amazing. Their loyalty knows no bounds. Because the kind of lies, propaganda, and stuff that happened on the ground, it only took God and the loyalty of the delegates to return me back. And I'm so grateful for whatever they did for me. On that note, now let me come to your question.
Yes.
I pray we get a good deal. As a politician, it is my prayer that citizens do well. And so I pray that every government that we have in place do not fail the citizens. I'm not one of the politicians who pray that government fails so that my party comes. I know that my party will win power, not because this government is failing, because we have superior alternative programs and policies that will position us very well. And so I pray they succeed, even though it's been so disappointing. And I still don't know why the finance minister is still keeping his job. That is a betrayal of the 80 NPP MPs that came out and said they wanted him out. Because I didn't even understand why they should even allow this budget pass in the first place.
Your people were there, they allowed it to pass.
Our people were there, yes, they allowed it to pass. But I'm saying that it was the NPP that served notice. We went through a censorship and then it didn't happen. But they served notice that they wanted him out and we started the process for them. So we're expecting them to push through the process for us. I pray that IMF deal goes through. I pray we don't have any setbacks. This government is full of deceit. They say A and do B. So whatever they tell us, until it happens, I have very little confidence in them. They told us that there was going to be no haircuts. Apparently, we're going to face worse haircuts. I understand organized labor is saying, TEC is saying that if they don't stop something on pensions, within a week they'll be hitting the streets. As a political party, we are also looking at options available to us. The kind of hardship that these policies are going to bring out to Ghanaians. If it becomes necessary we hit the streets again, we will. And like we all say, you may think demonstrations have no effects, but trust me, they do in the long run. And times, immediately you will not see government respond. But in the long run, you see them respond. If not for what we did on Yintia, on the e-levy, I'm sure by now they would have. But the e-levy forced them to go to the IMF. Because what they were expecting, if we had not shown that resistance, I'm sure they would have been getting the needed revenue they were looking for. And so they would not have resorted to the IMF. But if they had gone to the IMF, when we're asking them to go, I believe our situation will not be this dire.
Pablo, why you don't have to go to the streets when you have a strong parliament? You have a strong parliament because currently you are matching the MPP boot for boot, courtesy John Mahama, in terms of numbers. There is a view that your MPs are being sellouts in the chamber. What's your candid view?
I don't want to believe they are being sellouts. I don't know what proof you have to call our MPs sellouts. You may think we have an advantage, but some of these decisions, you need a 2/3 majority. We don't have that. We don't have that. Our numbers are even. And so if your numbers are even, sometimes all you need is a simple majority. We also happen to assign, technically, if you take out Asinov, they have a majority over us. And even without Asinov, they still had one more over us because the independent MP who doubles as the second deputy speaker, and the Supreme Court also told us that speakers, when they sit, can also vote. So clearly, based on technicalities, we don't have that upper hand. And most of the decisions that result to just simple majority are decisions that favors them. So if they bring budget statements to Parliament, you don't need 2/3 majority. It's just simple majority. And so no matter how strong our numbers may be, because of some of the decisions of our Supreme Court, that says that when the speaker sits, the main speaker is not a member of Parliament, but when the first or second deputy speaker sits, they become judges and prosecutors in their own courtroom. I believe that was an unfortunate decision from the Supreme Court, but this is what we have to deal with, because our Supreme Court has entirely not lived up to expectations, and I believe it is the Supreme Court that should have been holding some of these things in check for us. The Supreme Court has not been able to do that. So clearly, you cannot blame our MPs as being sellout. What can they do? 136, 138, technically. Because now we don't have our sin of MP sitting in Parliament. So they still edge us out by 2.
But you can be seen to be pushing,
But we have. We started the censorship thing. We also had the processes when we wanted the finance minister out. Do you blame us when we don't get the support from the 80 hypocrites who came and told us that they were going to fight against their own? You wanted a man out. We started an action for you, and then you do a U-turn on us. Do you blame us for being sellouts? Certainly not.
Look at the issue of our budget, our debt situation. Your people have not worked out on those loans that the government has been bringing to the chamber. So there's a view that you should partly accept blame for the huge debts that we have on our books.
No. You see, when government brings loan agreements to Parliament, and he can justify why he's borrowing those monies and what he's going to put the monies to use, why would you have to work out on that? The country must run at all costs. The country must develop. There are some bad deals that, let me see, working out doesn't solve the problem. When you work out, they'll still go ahead and pass it. We worked out on e-levy. They still went ahead and passed the e-levy on us. Sometimes it is best for you to be on the floor and state your position so that the hands that captures it. And I believe, to a large extent, this is one of the best parliaments we've had. The parliament led by Haruna Idris, who have been largely held this government accountable. It was parliament that pushed this government towards the IMF. And it was because of what our minority did. So you cannot blame our leaders in parliament for not doing the right thing.
You talked about the Yentia demonstration. It is partly the reason we have gone to IMF, because the government said, we'll stop toll booths, we will go for your mobile phone and collect your money from there, so we don't have to go to IMF. You went on the streets and said, Yentia, we didn't pay, now we are going to IMF. So you shouldn't blame the government for that decision.
No, but they still went ahead and passed the...
They passed it, but it was not successful because you said that nobody should pay.
Exactly. We said nobody should pay because we knew that the amount of revenue they were expecting to get out of e-levy was not enough to fix the problem that confronted us. We needed debt restructuring. And it was only the IMF that could help us with that debt restructuring and give us the credibility that we needed. That is why we are saying e-levy was not going to solve our problems. Also, e-levy was going to take people out of jobs. In a country, is the saying, when you be a man, you're going to impose e-levy on us. It was going to cut jobs. And technically, e-levy has cut jobs. people who were doing this vendors, a lot of them are out of business now because of e-levy. So it was going to cut jobs. Already, you are not giving us jobs. E-levy was going to put a strain on the individual. If I'm sending money to my mother in the village and I have to pay extra taxes, I'm not going to do it. So my mother is going to suffer. Until I'm able to get to the village and give her money, she's going to suffer. So e-levy had its own problems.
So that is why now the government is going to the IMF. So you shouldn't blame
the government should have gone to the IMF. Immediately we realized there was a problem. Right after 2021.
We are a proud country. We don't want to be going to IMF all the time.
A proud country that has mismanaged so badly. A proud country that has a deceitful president in the person of Akufo Addo, who doesn't know his left from his right and is unaware of anything that happens around him.
That's a lot of offensive words.
What is offensive about the president being deceitful? Has he not deceived all of us? The promises he made to us, the social contract he signed between you and I, has he fulfilled them? When you tell your children you do something for them and you don't do it, who are you? Are you not being deceitful? So what is offensive about calling the president deceitful? He's dishonest. And I don't know if that is also an insult. But it is the act of not doing what is noble and right. It's called dishonesty. And that is who Akufo Addo is.
What has he been dishonest to you about?
The social contract
he promised you
He promised me a better Ghana.
Yes, and he's delivering
I am worse off.
He has said that your children have received the best WASI results.
It's not true.
Since because of the free SHS.
It's not true.
You don't have contrary figures, do you?
It's not true. You see, if you look at the figures that comes out of the GES, and you look at, because you see, now they've had to change the goalpost. Previously, E8 was a fail.
Well, E8 to F9.
Yes, E8 was a fail. But under their watch, under free SHS, E8 is no longer a fail.
Well, E8 is not fail. F is fail. F9 is fail.
I said previously.
Okay.
When they were classifying results.
Okay.
E8 was failure. Today, under his watch, he's changed it until the E8 is not a failure. So look at the number of young ones getting E8s and compare to the number of young ones who are getting E8 under previous administrations. And then you realize that if E8 is considered a pass, then the previous results was better than what we are getting today.
What at the youth front do you think the government is getting wrong?
Everything.
Including employment, which it has fixed in terms of NAPCO, even though they were just for 3 years. We are told that they're going to come up with some more plans.
Have you taken your time to look at the employment figures? If you want me to run you through some, I'll help you.
Well, they're bad.
Exactly. Unemployment is at an all-time higher. I don't know what they've done right in respect to employment.
When you were in power, they had the Unemployment Graduates Association, Unemployed Graduates Association, UGAG. It means that the situation at the time was dire.
They were surrogates. Where are they now? They were surrogates of the NPP. But who told you we don't
have been employed now?
Who told you about if they've been employed? Why is unemployment so high today? Unemployment today is higher than it was under 2016.
Perhaps it's not as bad as your time. That's why we don't have UGAG.
No. You know why? Because those were surrogates of the NPP. Dramani something is leading an association of graduate unemployment people in the streets. Is it called Dramani something? Dramani Mama or something? There is this young man who has an organization that has to do with unemployed graduates all over the country. They are still around. Maybe he's not making so much noise like the NPP did when they formed that surrogate group of theirs. But the truth is that they failed us. In terms of employment, we are in a worse situation than we've ever been at any part of our history.
But you don't have any figures to prove that. That's why.
We do. But the data from the Statistical Service tells us that unemployment rates are higher. And the last check, when the NDC was leaving power, it was at 4 point something. Today it's about 30 point something.
When you went to the IMF, there were challenges that came with that, including freeze on employment. They also have that.
But you see, that is why I have a challenge. When we went to the IMF, even though there was a freeze on employment, if you don't mind, we could run through the number of public sector workers we inherited in 2009 and compare that to the number of people who were employed on the public sector wage bill at the time we were leaving power in 2016. And you can compare the number of people they've employed when there was no IMF conditionalities between 2017 to 2022. I can tell you for free that our numbers are higher. If you don't mind, I have data on my phone. I could spend a minute or two running you through the data. And then you will know that the NDC did better in terms of employment than the NPP did.
The power is stable. They are building roads. Those are positives.
The power is not stable because of NPP. John Dramani Mahama fixed the energy crisis before he left office.
They are paying the debts. No.
What debts is he paying?
ESLA, they are taking care of
but
it.
We introduced ESLA.
They say you left a lot of
it's not true.
Pay
it's
and
not
they
true.
have to be
because
taking care
because
of
what we did, we introduced ESLA. ESLA was supposed to have lasted for 5 years. Today they've mortgaged ESLA until 2035. So clearly, these guys have failed.
Yeah, but my point is that they are the ones who are making the payment. At the time, they said your doomsday challenge was a financial
It's not
one.
true. It was
not a capacity issue.
So I keep telling them, if it was financial, no problem. Let's take our power back. Let's take our Mary back. And let's see whether we will go back into darkness.
But those are investments that have to be...
And I'm saying, so those were the investments we made that solved the challenges. And we were telling you that they were capacity challenges. It was not because of financial issues. So if you claim they were financial, why extend a Mary? Why keep car power? Let them go back. And then you have an understanding of whether they were financial issues or they were issues that had
physical infrastructure. They have a rail line going all the way to Akosombo. They've just finished...
Who signed that contract on the railway line?
Doesn't matter. They are maintaining it.
Who signed it? John Dramani Mahama. Exactly. Yeah. Who left the funding? John Dramani Mahama. So why take credit for something you know nothing about?
They are running it.
They are only supervising the project. But they came to meet the project. It is a Mahama legacy. And it is all part of the money Mahama borrowed. That was responsible borrowing into capital expenditure, projects that will come back and finance itself. Imagine if we had not done a TWAB. Imagine what crisis we'll be facing today.
They are doing roads for you. They've done so many interchanges. Even though they came to meet Pokwasi, they say that they've done Tamale interchange for you.
Have you been to Tamale in the last?
No, I haven't been.
Have you seen an interchange?
I haven't been.
It's not an interchange. It's just a flyover.
Yes, it's still a major construction that has been done. They say that they are going to change our bauxite for roads, and they are doing that.
Umaru, look at Pokwasi, and then you realize that Tamale is child's play. You see, sometimes I don't want to waste my time on this inept administration, because the ordinary Ghanaian feels it every day. To come back and sit in studios and speak about some of the things they claim they are doing, it's laughable.
The dollar is coming down.
We pray. I started by telling that I hope conditions improve for the ordinary Ghanaian.
So they're doing something.
You see, that is the power of going to the IMF. That is why I told you that the IMF gives you credibility. That is why a year ago, when they wanted to introduce e-levy, some of us were in the street telling them that just by announcing that you are going to the IMF, it will bring some stability to your economy.
Pablo, you are a youth leader. If things are really as bad and the youth are the most affected, why are the youth not protesting and on the streets demonstrating?
No, but Umaru, demonstration is one of the many tools you can use in protesting. So for how long can you protest in the streets? This year, the Arise Ghana group protested. We all joined in that protest. Not too long ago, Chief Baini, one of the aspirants for national organizer in my party, led a picketing. I joined. The youth have been out there protesting. But you see, protests, demonstrations are one of the many tools you use in holding governments accountable.
But it's a way to show that you're angry.
But of course, yes, but you cannot protest every day. We are not asking for an uprising. Because an uprising will destabilize our democracy. What we are asking is that people should speak out. And I can bet you it's because of the speaking out that is why government went to the IMF. So that's why I said that one action, you may not see the results immediately, but it triggers other reactions and then you get the results.
So you not agree that the youth are docile?
We've never been docile. But even 1 year, we've had 3 demonstrations. Last year we had the March for Justice. Early this year, we had a Yincha demonstration, and late this year, Arise Ghana group was out there on their 2-day demonstration. How can you call? Are you expecting us to do how many demonstrations in a year? There is something called fatigue. People will get too tired about that action. There are other alternative tools you can deploy. And I can assure you that even the fight on social media alone, the number of young people who today are calling out government, to the extent that the National Security and the BAE, the National Security, goes out there to arrest ordinary social media people who speak their mind. That should tell the government is feeling the heat. And that is what we are asking everybody to do. Call them out. Speak out. Speak truth to authority. And when it becomes necessary to hit the streets, join us in the streets and let's hold this government accountable.
Are you sure you are being a better opposition?
Of course, yes.
How have you demonstrated that you're a better opposition, which is a party in waiting, over the past 6 years?
2 things. We've held this government accountable. If not for what we've done in Parliament, what our MPs have done in Parliament, I believe this government would have taken us all for granted. This is the first time a minister has come before Parliament for censorship. And this is the first time we've seen Parliament hold government very accountable. I can tell you for free that it is our minority group in Parliament that pushed government towards the IMF to go negotiate. So you can sit back and then assume the opposition is not doing what they have to do. But I believe that all the tools available for us, we are doing. Our former flag bearer has been holding programs, speaking to issues in this country and proposing alternative solutions. These things are novel. These are things that no opposition party did, but we are doing them now. President Mahama, he held a crossroads lecture, and the one he spoke on the economy about a month and a half ago. So these are things that opposition parties do. We propose alternative solutions, and we hold government accountable. We lead demonstrations. Our parliament has been up and doing. Our parliament has censored the finance minister to come before parliament. These things have never happened before. And so clearly, we are doing everything by the book, and I believe we'll get there.
This is Face to Face on Citi TV. My name is Umaru Sanda. My guest is George Opare Addo. He is National Organizer Youth for the National Democratic Congress. He just got re-elected, and that's why he's wearing white and is my guest in studio. When we come back, we'll talk about that race because it was a very rancorous one. How did he sail through successfully, and what next for the NDC youth? Please stay with us. You're welcome back. This is Face to Face on Citi TV. I'm Umaru Sanda here with George Opare Addo. He's NDC National Youth Organizer. Tell me about the race for retainership. At what point did you decide that you want to run again for youth organizer? Is this something you always plan to do at least 2 terms?
No, I didn't plan running for National Youth Organizer again. In 2021, when the election results was declared, I met my team, led by lawyer Abubakar and decided on next for my political journey. We decided I would tour the country, do meet focal groups, and then listen to them and ask them what they think I should do. But then the first people I needed to meet were the youth organizers I'd worked with. So when we toured all 16 regions, the report that came from the focal group was that a lot of the youth organizers believed that I had done well, we had made some gains, and we needed to consolidate the gains we had made. So I should run again for National Youth Organizer. It was a bit difficult for me because I was hoping to move up. But when the people who are going to lead your campaign in the constituencies tell you that we believe that stay where you are, and then work with us again for another term so that we can consolidate the gains we've made. Because until I came in, the youth wing was a bit down. So let's consolidate the gains we have made and then build on. And then after 4 years, if you want to move away, you can move away. So I listened to the cry of the people who elected me. And they asked me to run again, and they were going to support me. So I decided to run again.
So in your constitution or law, you don't have a clause that says at a certain age you can run for youth organizer?
No.
Oh, so even after 50, you can run if you wanted to?
Yes.
Okay. So, but are there plans to amend that?
We are hoping to amend it at Congress.
This coming Congress?
Hopefully.
Now, when you went into this election, you said to me in the intro that you were faced with forces. Yes. What are these forces?
I was actually surprised because I believed I had done so well. And I was expecting the party to rally around me. Not rally around me like support me. But I was expecting the so-called bigwigs in the NDC to remain neutral. But a few people decided that they will not adhere to advice and then show their hands and faces. Unfortunately, most of the so-called bigwigs are all cowards. So they couldn't show their faces. Rather, they were using surrogates. And so they paid some journalists who I call stomach journalists to malign me and then throw mud at me.
Who are these journalists?
Oh, they are all over this country, and some are even abroad. And all they could say was, they also realized. Are you
willing to name names?
No, I'm not interested in calling out anybody. They know themselves. All they did was to attack my strength. One of my biggest strengths is my ability to resource the party's base. So all they had to say was that it was the NPP that was funding me. They started by training names like Gabi. You know, between you and I, I've never met Gabi before. I know him, but we've never even spoken before. Then they moved from Gabi, then they looked around me. Okay, he was in Legon, Samir Oku was his friend. Let's train Samir Oku. Oh, Samir Oku is the one funding. Then the last few days, it was Kingsley Ajimai, the young man at the Scholarship Secretariat. We shared a room for 1 year. When I was in first year, he was in second year. When I went to Legon first year, he was a roommate. You know how we all sleep in those difficult conditions. Exactly. So then they look at how, okay, he's from Chebi, he's from the Krapim area. Let's tie them up, and then let's just throw anything out there. And all these allegations were never substantiated. So then they decided to go to the base and tell the base, yeah, it is true. Opare Addo gets you resources, but you know where the resources are coming from? It is coming from the NPP. I was like, really? Where's all this coming from? And then on election day, I saw too many hands trying to get me out. But like I said, it was God from day one. So the God factor And luckily, God gave me the opportunity to.
Is it not that you were incompetent and you were not deserving of being retained? That's why these so-called bigwigs decided
Sadly enough, none of them questioned my work. They admit, as for the job, he's done it. We just don't like him. You know why? I don't come and do yes, I must start to them. As simple as ABCD. They can't control me. I am a second generation NDC person. My father was part of those who founded the NDC. So I'm NDC true and true. Unfortunate for them, some of them came to meet some of us in the NDC. They expect us to wake up every morning and come to them. For whatever reasons, I don't know. And I don't go and do yes, I must start to anybody.
Let's stop using them and call the names as we have heard them in public. It's Sammy Gyamfi you're referring to, right?
Sammy Gyamfi is one small boy I'm senior in the NDC to Sammy Gyamfi. When I was serving as an MC, he was one of the surrogates that was used. When I was serving as an MC in the NDC, I believe at that stage I had not even written his SSC. So he's not one of the big names I'm referring to.
He's the one who has been fighting in public.
He was more or less the puppet that was put out there.
He was used.
Yeah, exactly, that is what I was
saying. So who are his paymasters?
They are behind. They are the cowards who are hiding behind him.
Are they national officers?
No.
Senior members of the party?
Presumption, you can assume so.
Former president?
No.
Former flag bearer of the party?
No.
John Mahama is not the one sponsoring Sammy Gyamfi?
No.
Is it Ibrahim Mahama?
No.
Who could it be?
I said they are cowards who could not show their faces.
Johnson Asenuketia?
No.
But you know them?
Why are you throwing out names? I said I'm not going to mention any names.
Because you're talking about senior members of the party. I'm just trying to check.
Do you even call them senior members? I call them influence peddlers. People who assume they have influence and they don't even have, and want to show some force.
Who are they? The election is over.
They know themselves.
You can share with us?
No.
So that they can have the right to respond?
They know themselves.
So who else did they use apart from Sammy?
Sam George.
They used Sam George against you. What's your difficulty with Sam George?
I have no difficulty. Sam George was one of the young men I know. I saw him coming to the NDC. I was part of those who saw him come. In 2008, Sam George was one of the young men that followed me when I was running as a parliamentary candidate in the Opare constituency. So I was surprised. And Sam George is one of the young men I helped to get to Parliament. In 2016, I supported him. So I was surprised at his behavior.
What kind of support did you give him in 2016?
At least his posters that he used, I printed them for him. At least, if I didn't give him anything, his posters that he pasted around, I printed all of them. In
Ningo Pram Pram?
Of course, yes.
During primaries or the main election?
Primaries and then the main elections.
And he knows this?
Of course, yes.
Or you did it quietly so he wouldn't know?
Abba. Sanda, I did support him. Let's leave it.
What did he say or do to you in this election?
What did he do? He was out there endorsing and meeting youth organizers and campaigning for my opponents. He has every right to do so. But in 2023, when it is his turn and I also descend into Ningo Pram Pram to support a candidate, I hope nobody comes to call me that I'm a national officer.
Is that a threat or an hypothesis?
You can call it whatever you want to call it.
You are going to be the youth leader when you are sworn in on Saturday or Sunday this weekend of the NDC. You're supposed to be an independent umpire. And in fact, you're even supposed to be championing the NDC's agenda.
He's a member of parliament who should have known better.
But he's free to choose whoever he wants.
I'm also free to choose whoever I want as an
Not
MP.
as a youth organizer.
It's not true. If he's free, where in my constitution does it say I cannot support anybody?
You can't support an opponent. If he wins the primaries and becomes
If he wins the primaries, I'll support him as the NDC's candidate. But during his primaries, I have the right to support anybody who contests him.
So you will not support him in the primaries?
You see, I believe I'm better than that. I always said, it's a case that I could always do it. But I believe I'm better than that.
But have you tried to speak to him since these issues came up, to ask him what you did to him?
No, I don't have to. He knows me, he's my friend. So if he wanted to do this, I just felt it was better for him to have called me.
You think he too is being used?
I just said yes.
It's not because he thought that you don't deserve to retain.
No, I said...
Because he's a youthful member of the party.
They are also... You see, the allegations he went about... And you see, for a member of parliament to even sit on television and lie. When I did a march for justice, parliament had no hand in the march for justice. When I did a Yenchia demonstration, parliament had no hand. But yet he went around saying that all those demonstrations are the instances of parliament. You understand? And so when you don't like me, it's okay not to like me. But it is not good for you to be lying as a member of parliament.
Who else was used to come after you?
You have two names. I think that is fair.
Sammy Gyamfi is your national communications officer.
Yes.
You've been working together for 4 years now.
Exactly.
Have you had issues at the party head office?
Not one I recall. When Henry Nana Boakye assaulted him in Asempa, I called a press conference that evening and called for the arrest of Sam George. I said Sam George. When he did our Rise Ghana demonstration 2-3 months ago, on the night, he led that demonstration. That was not one of my demonstrations. That night, when people got arrested, they all went to sleep. I was the only one on duty going around one police station to the other. If I had issues with them, I would not have been there. That was not my demonstration. In the morning, I was at the police headquarters. When they were looking for people to grant bills, I was the lawyer who was going from one police station to the other. So I have no problems with him. You know how I see it? I see it as a very little, like a small boy who thinks that he's running a marathon and he thinks he's running a sprint. And so he can get himself involved in things like this. But if he understands politics, he will know that it's a cycle. But people have been more famous and popular in the NDC than he was. And today, where are they? So when you run a marathon, you must be measured because it's a long journey you are running. But when you begin to run a marathon like you are running a sprint, at a time when you need that energy, it will be gone. Did you speak with him too? Did he tell you why he's doing this? Why would I have to speak to him? He had made up his mind.
When you go for meetings, is it NEC that is called? FEC. You meet him there?
Yes.
Have you ever had an altercation with him?
No.
No verbal challenge?
I'm more measured.
Has he tried to take you on over anything?
He cannot take me on over anything. Our roles are different, so how does he take me on anything?
He's a youth.
Yes.
And a member of your executive. You are the youth leader, so he's essentially under you, even though you are supposed to work together. Now that there's a sort of a clash between you and him.
There is no clash. See, let's not create the impression there is any clash. There is none. Like I said, I see him as a younger brother. I bear him no grudges. I'm only speaking out because I felt what happened was wrong. But we are going to work together. Son, I don't need to like you to work with you. I understand that so well. We may have our differences, but the job will get done. And so for me, maybe he may not be matured enough to work with me, but I'm more matured and I now have to work with him.
Are you going to work against his campaign even though he's going unopposed?
I'm not interested in who contests him. But I came to sit in this studio the last time I did the e-levy, and I told you he's done well as a communication officer. Have you forgotten? I give praise where it is due.
Who is sending him to you? You still haven't told me.
Sandra, if I was going to tell you, I would have mentioned names.
So is he the one who sponsored the candidate against you?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because he was used to sponsor the candidate. But the real political entrepreneurs, see, there are two types of people. The political entrepreneurs and then the influence peddlers. The political entrepreneurs are the faceless cowards who cannot show their faces. And so they use people like Sammy Jemfi and Sam George. Sammy Jemfi and Sam George are the political influence peddlers. They assume they have some role, some influence, so they think they can peddle their influence and then their proximity to certain individuals in the NDC to come and show off that they believe that delegates will see them as influential and listen to them and vote. Unfortunately, our delegates were way smarter.
It means that you are talking down on your opponent who contested on his own merit. He has gone to the Supreme Court for your party, so he has his own merit to run against you, and you should see him as...
Who were the faces of his campaign?
Who were?
Sammy Jemfi, Sam George. They went everywhere with him. They were leading his campaign. I campaigned on my merits. I was out there on my own. When I came here, you asked about Sammy Jemfi. Did I mention Sammy Jemfi?
No.
Because, why did you ask?
Because I've seen the connection.
Because you saw him as the face of that campaign.
The candidate...
Am I lying? No, answer.
I've already told you that I've seen the connection. So, the candidate that you defeated said the election is not over. He said it was fraught with a number of challenges. He's going to go to court.
I'm waiting.
They said you manipulated the electoral process. That's why the election started late in the evening, even though it was supposed to start in the daytime.
I am not an electoral commissioner. I was not in charge of the elections. There were issues with the register. When you are given a provisional register, it is not a final register. And so you must understand that. We went through a certain process. We all agreed, we disagreed, and finally agreed on what should happen. And then we all came out to partake in the elections. They had gone to court to try and stop the elections. Another group had also gone to court on a number of issues. And so when all the issues were resolved, the planning committee and then some chairmen from some regions who were there sat all of us down and agreed on what modalities we should use for the elections, and we all agreed. So when Alex Igbefia came out to address, we realized that the two of us stood next to Alex Igbefia, one on his left, one on his right. It was because we had agreed that the elections should take place based on the register we had all agreed on. And so after that process, I don't know, it's only a sign of bad faith. It's only being a bad loser. Because we all agreed before the elections took place. And we were all in the room, actively campaigning. There are videos of us on social media when the votings were ongoing, going through delegates, and we were even laughing.
So you hold the view that the electoral process was very clean? Very
clear and clean. If you had won, would he come out and make this assertion?
Did you fear that you would lose at any point?
At no point in time did I fear I was going to lose this election.
Was it a campaign against mudslinging or money for you in this election?
Both.
They brought money?
I didn't. If I say money, I'll be mistaken, because money has not been part of the reasons why anybody will lose an election. But the negative campaign that was played against me, even on the floor in the auditorium, they were sending audios of a recording that was supposed to have been coming from a certain reporter, reporting about some association with some people who don't like the NDC, and I was in bed with them. A lot of things, a lot of machinations.
Were there attempts to buy the
delegates? They were using, I'm sure you've seen videos of other people talking about my wife living abroad and the government paying my wife's school fees. All those were lies. In one video, the former Eastern Regional Youth Organizer, who was head to have said that 6 girlfriends of mine have been taken abroad, and what have I done for them? Apart from that, my wife is on government scholarship, and my wife lives up. Lies going around with the candidates. She stood there, and these young men were lying. And all these videos are out.
Who was supposed to have prevented that from happening on the grounds?
No, but the candidate should have shown some level of... It was a family contest. You don't just destroy people's reputations because you want the job. So I was expecting him to do better.
I'm looking at the publication. It says, Sami Jemfi used Mahama and Julius Deborah against me. He is an influence peddler, Pablo. Was that a fair, accurate representation of what you have said?
Yes. Yes. Because, for instance, I even had to call... There is a video of Sami Jemfi saying that all the elders in the party, including Julius Deborah, are against me. So I even called Julius. And I know Julius because I've worked with Julius from Eastern Radio when he was regional chairman. We've been long-standing friends. And Julius said no. And Julius even dared that if I can bring one person to him, and then the person can say in front of him that he has asked him to go and do ABCD, he, Julius, will apologize to me. So I knew Julius was being honest. I also knew that President Mama was not for any of us in this contest. He's a leader, he's a father. And he has remained neutral because he had assured all of us that we should go into this contest, and whoever wins, he will work with. So I was surprised that Sami Jemfi was... And there are videos. It's not just word of mouth.
He wouldn't have been saying it if he wasn't sponsored, like you said. So
no, I'm saying that there are people I call political entrepreneurs. It is not President Mahama.
So he's pretending that he are
he
behind
was
him.
using... You see, people assume his close proximity to the corridors of power in the NDC.
How far from the corridors of power are you?
I'm not too far.
Are you sure?
Of course, yes. Between President Mahama and I don't call him Your Excellency. I call him Uncle John.
Okay.
This year alone, President Mahama and I have left this country and gone abroad twice. No national officer has traveled with President Mahama to go and do international engagements this year alone. 2 times. Just President Mahama and I.
So let me understand. Money was not given to delegates not to vote for you.
If that happened, I have no proof.
You have not seen.
That is why I've not spoken about
no material stuff has been
given
to
usually
anybody.
you see TVs. I didn't see any of that. Maybe they did it on my blind
But did
side.
you give money so that you be voted for?
Oh, before they boarded their buses, I sent 100 Ghana cedis round.
To each person?
To each person.
Each
to
delegate?
Each delegate to buy food. Because they are traveling from their various areas to come and vote for you.
You had like 1,000 people coming to vote.
Yes.
So that's 100,000 cedis.
Yes.
It's kind of free.
Oh, from my private resources.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can be probed by the Office of Special
I have
Prosecutor.
no challenges at all. I'm more than willing to meet it.
I see.
So when we go around and campaign, we drive around the country, we buy fuel.
What was your relationship with Hannah Bissue going into the election?
Well, Hannah and I work together. Most of my programs I do, you see Hannah with me, the boot camps, the retreats, the capacity.
So you have a good working relationship with her?
Fantastic working relationship.
Is there any other national officer you don't have a good working relationship with?
I work with everybody nicely.
So the only person who at the national office has been a problem for you is Sami Jemfi?
I never saw him as a problem until this election cycle.
That's what I'm saying. In this election, he's been the only problem.
Yes.
What has been the role of Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo in your campaign?
He's also campaigning. He's trying to steal his boat to safety. Why would he be worried about my boat?
There's a claim that you, Ofosu-Ampofo, and Hannah Bisu are not Mahama loyalists, and that's why there was an attempt to remove you. How do you see to that?
I will find it difficult because you know what? If there is anybody who has worked so hard for President Mahama, maybe it is the three of us.
Really?
We have given up everything to make President Mahama president again. I saw the effort Ofosu-Ampofo put in the last elections. I saw the effort Hannah Bisu put in. And I saw my own efforts. The last time I was here, I told you, if I had my own way, let's retain Akamba as organizer, let's retain Hannah Bisu, let's retain General Senegete as General Secretary, Ofosu-Ampofo as chairman, if I had my own ways. But my ways are not the ways of God, and everybody has his own choices to make. So, but everybody has been fantastic. We had a fantastic team. A party that got 44% in government. And in 2 years, what people don't realize was that we didn't have 4 years. So we were elected in 2018, November. And so we only had 2019 to fix the problems of the 2016 administration and then return the party to power. And we got 137 seats in parliament. You can only be proud of this achievement. And also hang parliament and elect a speaker of parliament. And so if anybody takes that role we all played for granted, then the person doesn't know what he's talking about.
There was violence at your Congress. Did you sponsor that?
How would any reasonable man want to sponsor violence?
Maybe to scuttle things so that you can sail through.
How?
As an incumbent, you're mafiaing the opponent.
How? You know...
You don't know the people who were fighting, do you?
I'm yet to even
see
understand... Not that I've seen the video. I'm yet to understand what sparked it. Because, and you see, if it was sponsored, it lasted for just 15 minutes. If it was sponsored, I'm sure it would have gone on for a very long time. 15 minutes because I believe whatever the issues were, immediately it was resolved. It ended.
Okay.
So I am still yet to, and truth be told, I don't know any of the people. I went to Congress grounds with my team. We went with 2 cars. The Land Cruiser I drive, and then an old Pajero one of my team members used. That was all.
Okay.
Nobody else followed us.
Let me take a break here. This is Face to Face on Citi TV. My name is Umaru Sanda, but my guest is Opare Addo. He's a National Youth Organizer of the NDC. When we come back, I'll ask him how the party is going to solve any cracks that may come up. So he has won. Broja Jemfi has lost. He says he's going to go to court. Ofosu-Ampofo is going against Johnson Asedo Nketia. That promises to be a very wild one. There's also a competition at the General Secretary position between 3 persons. How is the party going to come out of this successfully ahead of election 2024? Please stay with us. You're welcome back to Face to Face. Let's wrap up this conversation on the National Democratic Congress. Opare Addo is my guest in studio. He's just been elected. You have a tough one coming up. The current General Secretary of your party is going against your current chairman. I'm not sure that has happened before, but it portends trouble for you, doesn't it?
No.
You sure?
No. A seat has become vacant. Everybody's at liberty to contest. The ideal situation should have been nobody should have contested each other, especially knowing their long-standing relationship as friends. So I was not expecting that contest. But unfortunately, it is happening. So whether I like it or yes, it is there. So I don't see any challenges at all. If they want to contest each other, so shall it be.
You are fine. Are you not supporting Ofosu-Ampofo against Mosquito?
I am not supporting anybody. I have won my race. Whoever comes, I will work with.
Do you have a difficulty with Mosquito?
I have no difficulties with
What's
anybody.
your relationship with him like?
Perfect. He's my general secretary. Yes.
He's not one of the people who is sponsoring people against you?
If he did, I didn't see.
Do you suspect he did?
No.
What's your relationship with Ofosu-Ampofo?
Same. Perfect. I have a working relationship with all of them.
But you would want that he wins?
I have no difficulties whoever wins.
What do you make of the cracks that may come up if either of them
no
wins?
cracks.
Are you sure?
Yes.
They have a huge population on either side.
You see, the base is interested in power. So I can assure you that we will amend our ranks.
There are leaked audios that are
It happens in
circulating.
every election cycle. It will pass.
You've heard some of them.
It will pass tomorrow.
Does it not shock you that General Mosquito says that Ofosu Ampofo was running a rat race with John Mahama.
Umaru, I am not interested in what anybody says.
You have to be interested. You are the national youth president of your party.
He's campaigning. On the campaign trail, a lot of things are said. Some are very frivolous. You just let them slide. The delegates are not, in quote, stupid. They know what is right and they know what is true. So why would I be worried where I sit? On Saturday, everybody will see his smoothness level. So if it is general, if it is Ofosu Ampofo, whoever comes, I, Judge Opare Addo, will work with the person. I'm a team player.
None of them has asked you to support their campaign?
None of them can. They know me. They know my principles.
Did they come to support you at Cape Coast?
None of them came to support me.
Did they give you money?
If you know the hits we are all going through.
They are hotter than you.
This economy.
What about the General Secretary position? Your colleague Peter Boama is seeking to be elevated.
Fantastic young man.
You like him?
I like him. He's a vandal. He's a fellow vandal.
Do you like Fifi Kweti?
Of course, yes. He's a fantastic. You know, when Fifi was propaganda secretary, that was when I joined the NDC's communications team.
Okay, so you worked directly.
So he gave us opportunities to shine. Fantastic young man.
How about Elvis Efrianka?
Oh, he's a maestro.
So Maestro is a bigger,
intelligent young man.
Maestro is a bigger of all.
He's led 2 campaigns. He led Atamioza's campaign and he led John Mahama's campaign in 2012. Fantastic man with a lot of experience. You know what? All the 3 of them, everybody is fit for purpose.
There's generally a view that party officers would like to be retained alongside their colleagues. If that is the case, then it means you're mostly inclined towards having Peter Boama Otokuno re-elected.
Office is my director of elections.
He's not an executive. He's not a national executive.
He is a national executive.
He's not elected.
No, but he is. He sits at NEC. He sits at FEC. Not all executives. No executives are elected. They have equal rights just like us.
He's an appointee of the executive, not a.
And so, but he's an automatic member of NEC and FEC. So we've sat there for 4 years. Just like Otukuno, the only person who has not started with us is Fifi. But if Fifi and I have a very good relationship. As youth organizer, he's one of those who supported me to succeed. Almost all my programs I did in the Volta region. One way or the other, Fifi supported me in finances. They don't know how I finance projects. For instance, I'm going to his constituency to do a program. The last one I did in his constituency, he paid off all the bills for me. You understand? So if he's contesting and I have a vote or I have to support him, I can support him too.
So again, at that level too, you are fine. Anyone who wins, you're going to work with them.
3 fantastic young men. They can all be general secretary.
Do you wish you had sponsored a candidate against Sami Jemfi?
Why would I want to do that? He's doing well as a communication officer. I came to Citi. I'm no hypocrite.
So you still celebrate him?
Of course,
despite
yes.
everything.
Of course, yes. He's still doing well as a communication officer. I'm no hypocrite.
Is Sam George doing well as an MP?
The last time I said it, that Sam George is one of our finest MPs we have. Unfortunately, he has credibility issues in Parliament. That's all.
So that's why you will not campaign for him?
When it comes to advocacy, he speaks very well. But issues of credibility matters as well.
Credibility in terms of what? Corrupt?
Let me leave it there. I said he has credibility issues amongst his colleagues in Parliament.
They don't trust him?
Well, I've mentioned credibility issues. You can go on.
I can interpret it the way I want.
Exactly.
Your youth agenda, quickly before we go, what will be your youth agenda? So that in 2026, when you go back to the polls, what would you say?
And if I don't go back to the polls in 2026,
no, I'm just saying, but at least you're going to take stock and say that, okay, this is what Opare is remembered for.
I campaign on 3 things. Capacity building, resourcing the base, and welfare. And they know me, I'm a promise keeper. The first is to win political power for the NDC. I don't serve individuals. I serve the interest of the NDC. So the first is to win political power for the NDC. And then make sure the youths of the NDC are fairly rewarded in this country. Because a lot of things have happened and a lot of young people who are affiliated to the NDC have been overlooked because we're NDC.
And that's going to be your agenda. Wish you all the best and thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you, Umaru.
That's George Opare Addo. He is a national youth organizer of the National Democratic Congress, also known as Pablo. My name is Umaru Sanda. Thank you for watching Citi TV. It's your world.